This is Julia Collins, one of the RRMS school counselors. I am introducing our first mindfulness lesson. Mindfulness is our school-wide theme for nighttime. Being more mindful is our mission for all staff and students here at the Ridge. There are many benefits to being more mindful. Today's lesson is going to introduce mindfulness and ways we can improve how our brain functions through mindfulness practices. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness might simply best be described as choosing and learning to control our focus of attention. Mindfulness is an ancient Eastern practice, and it is a simple concept. Because it is so different to how our mind normally behaves, it does take a lot of practice. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, and in the present moment, and in a non-judgmental way. Mindfulness is like exercise for our minds. The three keys are awareness, non-judgment, and stillness. Awareness is paying attention to one's experience through the senses. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? With your sight, taste, and hearing. Non-judgmental is the second key, accepting things as they are, not evaluating things as good or bad, kind of staying in a neutral-like attitude and understanding everyone has unique qualities. And the last key is stillness. Stillness in heart and mind, really listening to your inner voice. It's about acceptance and understanding. Think for a second about what you see. This is where we want to go. Mindful of stuff versus mindful. Our goal is to approach life with a blank slate. Take things at face value with no preconceived ideas. I'm going to ask you all to pause for a minute here and discuss with a neighbor. Are you ever able to just turn your brain off and just be? We're going to watch a 3-minute video where students from a school in New Zealand explain what mindfulness is. They're also going to demonstrate a mindful technique called PBS, pause, breathe, smile, and how it works.
Mindfulness helps you keep calm and relaxed when you're in times when you're angry or frustrated.
You learn from mindfulness so you can help yourself calm down.
The red zone is when you're tense.
My heart starts to beat fast and then I scrunch up my fist and also my face.
Your blood might be swishing around like a big wave coming over the ocean.
You can walk away, tell the teacher, or pause, breathe and smile.
PBS.
PBS. PBS. PBS stands for pause, breathe and smile. Everything's moving the way it's supposed to be. Your heart's at a good rate. When you smile and just be happy,
it's where you're happy, you're never nervous, and you'll make friends.
You kind of just smell and feel what it's like, and then you just look at it and then you eat it.
Mandarinders. Mindfulness makes me a better friend and sister. Before I didn't notice if people were feeling sad or lonely, but after I learned mindfulness, I noticed and I wanted to help.
Sometimes my brain is like a snow globe when you shake it up. It's stormy and wild, and I can't see things properly. Mindfulness helps me to calm down so I can see all the different snowflakes and understand what's happening in my mind.
Sometimes I lie in bed and I can't go to sleep because I'm worried about not getting high scores on my test. Pause, breathe and smile make me feel a lot calmer, and it will just help me fall asleep?
There's lots of little neurons in your brain, and your heart is actually connected to your brain. When you feel happy, you have a happy heart. Mindfulness gives you that happy heart.
This is a picture from the video we watched. We are going to use the PBS, pause, breathe, and smile, to find your safe place so that your snow globe is not cloudy. During nighttime, we are going to be learning and practicing different mindful techniques throughout the whole school year. All mindfulness techniques focus on our breath. So to start, we are going to use the pause, breathe, smile because it's a very basic technique. And it is the technique demonstrated in the video by the students. So to practice PBS, anytime you feel stressed or overwhelmed, you simply stop or pause. Take a long or slow breath in through your nose and out your mouth. And you keep doing the long, slow breaths in and out until you can get to the point where you can actually smile, which is the S part of the pause, breathe, and smile. Sometimes it helps if you include a positive comment like it's okay or I can do this, and you've effectively used a mindful technique to gain control of your emotions and your mind. We are going to watch a 6-minute video that explains the brain in hand model. It also explains how mindfulness can help your brain function effectively.
I want to share with you a model of the brain that many people I've shared this with have found it very useful. I'm going to share it with the whole group because it's something you always have with you. So let's put up your hand for a minute. Choose either hand, doesn't matter. Tuck your thumb inside and your fingers over your thumb, and then turn it so I can see your fingernails. Okay? That's your brain. If you put up right beside your head, you'll see that this front part right here is right behind your forehead, and this is the rest of the brain, the back of the brain back here. Okay, so this is your brain. Let me share with you the parts of the brain. And I want to do this because just as you were saying that when students understand about neuroplasticity, it gives them great hope and it frees them to actually be able to learn in a different way. When people start having this model of the brain that's useful to them, they can use it to help them self-manage. So I'll tell you a story about a 4-year-old after I show you about this brain. Okay? So this is very simplified. This is not really how the brain is. This is a model that's useful. Okay? So think of your arm as a spinal column. A spinal column is super important because it carries neurological information from the major organs in your body to your brain. So do you ever have the feeling in the pit of your stomach? You're scared? It's because there's neurological matter in your stomach, your intestines, that communicates directly to the brain, lets your brain know there's a problem here. Does your heart ever hurt? You feel heavy in your heart. Neurological material in your heart as well. So neurological material all over your body that the messages get sent up and down the spinal column. Now these messages go directly to the brain stem. So right here, sort of the middle of your palm, is the brain stem. That's the part of the brain that's responsible for the major life functions. This is the parts the activities of your body that keep you alive, breathing, digesting, okay? All those in here. If you put your thumb across, it'd be handy if we had opposing thumbs because it's really, this, be all of it. This would be the limbic system. various parts of the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, amygdala, all those will be in there. That's, to simplify it greatly, the emotional seat of the brain. You'll notice how close it is to the brainstem, right? Very, very close. Messages go very, very quickly back and forth here. Then if you fold your fingers down, this is the cortex. So that wrinkly part that you always see in those pictures of the brain, that's the cortex. And there's various parts of the, the occipital cortex, the temporal, prefrontal, the part where many of the executive functions reside, though not all, many of the processes, the prefrontal cortex, which is just the fingernails up here. Really very, localized part of the brain, but extremely important. And most recently developed in human beings. Okay? So these parts were developed, the more primitive parts of the brain were developed earlier. So the brain works most effectively when it's working in an integrated manner, when all the parts of the brain are communicating with all the other parts of the brain, where back to front is communicating, side to side is communicating, all the parts are communicating. That can happen when we're well rested, got good nutrition, exercise going, not a lot of stress. When those things aren't in place, the brain operates in a less integrated way. So what we're going to be talking about today is this portion here. What I want to do is give you a minute to explain this to your neighbor and let your neighbor explain it to you. Because when you can explain this to a student, we're going to take it a little farther, this is just step one. When you can explain this to a student, it can be very useful for students at different times. Now I'll tell you the 4-year-old story and then you can practice. When the limbic system gets loud, when we get an emotional overload, our limbic system gets very loud. Our physical body gets very agitated. It's all a noise in the system. It's like our prefrontal cortex goes offline. We flip our lids. Very hard to do rational thinking when these parts of our brain are very agitated or very noisy, very activated. So what we want to do is get the prefrontal cortex back online so that we can be doing some good, clear thinking rather than this emotional thinking, which is usually, I got to get out of here, or I got to fight. You know, that fight, flight, or freeze thing. That happens really without the input from the prefrontal cortex. So here's the 4-year-old boy. His teacher had taught the whole class about the brain. And one day this 4-year-old boy came up to her and he said, "Miss, miss, miss." And she realized that he was having a situation that he knew he was flipping his lid. He didn't want to. She helped him calm his system so then he could find his language again to talk about what was going on and why he was upset. But this was really helpful for him. It's like flip his lid. For me, there's times when I get activated and I'm thinking, Karen, you're flipping your lid. Let's get your body calmed down here. And calming down through the body, we'll talk much more about this through these days. Using the body to calm down is often more effective than trying to use the rational mind to calm down when the rational mind isn't online to start with. So trying to recruit the rational mind to help you get the rational mind on board isn't as effective. So that's why I think this is really useful with students. It helps them get a picture of what it is they're trying to do, how it is they're trying to learn to self-manage.
Mindfulness is exercise for the brain. It's like building muscles for paying attention. Mindfulness also helps us with executive functions like self-control, foresight, planning, and organization skills, which are all important and necessary skills for success. This is a quote from a 10-year-old student. "Sometimes my brain is like a snow globe. It's stormy and I can't see anything properly. Now I know how to let it settle down so I can see the different snowflakes and understand what's happening in my mind." The practice of mindfulness allows us to pause and choose our actions. BS. Pause, breathe, and smile.